So part of what we need to do when we use Firebase with our Flutter project or any project that you want to integrate Firebase, we need to create a Firebase project. So you log on to console.firebase.google.com, and then you create a brand new project here. You give your project a name. So I'm going to call it my Firebase app. You can name it more appropriately for you. You can say you're going to enable Gemini here and enable Google Analytics. And then we're going to set an account. Okay, so I'm going to create a brand new account. I'm not going to confuse this work with something else. There. And you set your location correctly, accept the terms and agreement, and then you wait for your project to be created. This will take maybe a minute or two. After your project is fully created on the Firebase site, comes here, and then we need to set this up to use various features that we want to use within our Flutter app. So, so the way that things are laid out in Firebase is that you have to initialize your different types of apps within Firebase. So what I'm going to do first is set it up so that we can build a Android app. So I'm going to come here, and here what I'm going to need to know is the Android package name that was defined when the Flutter app was created. And if you create the Flutter app by default without specifying a package name, it's going to use a default. And the way that we come back to that and figure that out and change it is this. We come in here and then we look at the app level Gradle file. And here we'll see this, we see that it has part of the name that we specified, Firebase app, but it has this other part of com, example, etc. So we need to change this to be specific to us or specific to your account. So um, if let's say that I'm Sean. I can do like this, com Sean dot Firebase dot app. Or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do something like Can Engineering, sorry, Can Engineering Firebase app. And then I'm going to use this same one down here. Okay. And once I do set that up, I also have to do for the Android side, I have to come in here and I have to rename the package that was defined here by default. So here you can see that it used that similar naming pattern. So under com, I'm going to click on com. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say new folder. I'm going to call it engineering, or you use whatever is appropriate for you. And then add one more folder, which is Firebase app. And then this file, I'm just going to drag and move it to right over the Firebase app. So it moves the file there, and it's going to prompt me to move it. So now that it's moved, but then up here, I have to change the package name. There we go. So once we do this, we should be able to just build without adding a whole lot more complexity yet. We can first just double check that we have a Android compilable Flutter app. So I come in here, say I'm sorry, Flutter clean, just a clean up first. Make sure we're starting from a clean state. And I'm going to do Flutter pub get. And then I'm going to just compile for Android, which is build APK. And APK is just the one of the file types that's used for Android. So Flutter build APK, and we're just going to just double check whether our app can build for Android without any issues. And here it's just complaining about the NDK version. So we're going to upgrade this. So we're going to go to the app level Gradle file. Oops. And you can see here, there's a hard-coded version of the one that comes pre-built with Flutter. I'm going to change that to the one that was specified in the build warning. You can see that it's still building for Android. And for most cases, we might not need to change this NDK, but it's just best to change it anyway. That way we can try to remove as many build warnings as possible. So if I run the build again for Android, that error will not show up again. There we go. So before we do too much, we just want to do a baseline check of being able to just run this app without much Firebase changes, run it on the Android either device or emulator. So I'm going to go up here, select run without debugging, and just double check that it can launch within the emulator or device. Okay, so now that looks good. So now we're just going to proceed to the next step of setting up this app for Firebase. Okay, so now that we did the baseline test to make sure that the Android app will build and run, we'll continue here on the Firebase side to set up our app. So since we had changed the Android package name, we're going to put it here to reflect that. And I'm going to call it Firebase app. Okay, like that. I can put a name, so I'm going to put my sorry, Firebase app. And then here, this SHA one is optional, and I'm just going to leave that out for now. Click register, the blue button, let it continue. And here it's saying to download this file, and then I'm going to put it in the same folder where see under the app folder. So if you see here, you can see that when we download it, we're going to put this Google Services JSON file within the app folder. So download it. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is, okay, so downloaded the file. So here, this is the file that we downloaded, and we need to come over here to our project. Here's the Android folder. Here is the app folder. So we need to put it in this app folder here. So I'm gonna just take this file, drag it into the app folder there. So if we look here, another way to look at it is we can go to the terminal here, click on Open Android, then Open App folder, and then look at the contents here. So for Mac, that's how you do that. Windows will have a similar command. So here you can see that the Google Services JSON file is located in that location. Okay, now that we come back here and we go to next. So at this point here, what we're going to do is, since we already downloaded the JSON file, and this instruction here does expect us to do some modification of the Android level configurations. This configuration gets out of date quite quickly based on the latest version of these files from Google and also based on Flutter instructions. So I'm going to do these a little bit later and cover them in a few minutes. So after we had made sure that the base Flutter app runs on Android, we're going back here and making sure that the app can initialize the Firebase within an Android app. So there are things that need to be added into the Flutter app and into some of the Android settings. So these two lines here need to be added. And since we add a wait here, we need to add the async here. But make sure you do not change this return type to be a future void. Keep it this way. This is a new function that I'm adding here. And when you look at this, what it's doing is it's just reporting to the Firebase. There's a part of Firebase called Analytics, and it lets you track everything that is the user is doing. And here we are tracking when the app is opened so that it will report to uh, Firebase that the user has opened the app. And then what also we add is here, we add these lines here. We instantiate an object to the analytics. We get an observer, and then we add the observer to this navigator observers. And what this is going to allow to happen is that whenever a new screen is opened in the Flutter app, it will report it to Firebase Analytics. And then another thing that is done is down, let's see, here. The important part is here in that whenever you click on the floating action button, sorry, then this is the other part of the actual increment function that gets called by the action button. So I go to the here. And what we're doing here is that we're specifically logging user events like clicking on a mouse button. So things like opening a screen gets automatically logged by Google Analytics and also by doing something like this here. But also if you want to track some specific kinds of user clicking, then you can do it by doing this log event. And these event parameters can be expanded so that you send more detailed information to the analytics. This can be like what specific, let's say, icon or product or any kind of things like a score or price or whatever thing you want to add in here. And then that information will get sent to the Google Analytics. And once you get all that stuff running, I mean, once you get all that added, and then another thing that you have to do based on the Firebase Android, if you go back here and look at the instructions, there are these types of instructions about adding some dependencies Google into the Google Android settings. And I have already added them into the sample project. And specifically, I'll highlight what things were added here. Like for example, down, let's see. Okay, this line here was added, the apply of a plugin. And then this was downloaded and added here in the previous step. And another thing is here that the Google services was added. And I believe that is it. That's all that was added to this project. Once all that is added, and then you can run this app. So we're going to close this, open here, and then we're going to run. So it's going to build the app for the Android emulator here. And I will bring that here, the emulator up in the front. Okay, so it's up and running. And so when this screen gets shown, a message gets sent to the Firebase Analytics. And when this button gets clicked, this also sends a log event to the Firebase Analytics.
Please subscribe to this channel and like this video to support this kind of work.
And then this is how you can actually track what's going on inside of the analytics. So from the Firebase home screen, you would scroll down to where you would see analytics. Um, Maybe it's on the top now. Here it is. If you expand out this accordion, so the analytics dashboard, and now you can see some user activity. You don't really see a whole lot of specific events. And here is the app that was launched that I called it My Firebase app. Um, so when you look at the data on either the Firebase side or you look at it in more detail on the Google Analytics side, what you have to keep in mind is that the data does take time for it to be aggregated and made available for you in the Google Analytics side. Although it does say real time here, I actually have not ever really seen real-time data except for like this kind of data, which is showing the number of active users, which is happens to be my one Android app that's running. But to see actual log events and screen activity, that kind of data does take time for it to come through. And the whole subject of Google Analytics is a much larger subject, and you should then that subject should take maybe another separate maybe even a separate lecture to cover Google Analytics entirely. So this is it for setting up a Firebase within a Flutter app and setting up analytics within a Flutter app with the specific focus on the Android side. Um, Google Firebase has actually many other features besides analytics. So it has Google Firebase has authentication, hosting, storage, being able to track crashes, um, doing some remote configuration, um, and things like that. And I will have a separate video for demonstrating how to do Firebase hosting with a with our Flutter app as a separate video. Okay.